Oh wow, we're absolutely live, and you subscribers know we're here. We may have to advertise this thing too. So we appreciate you guys being here right in the BigJReport.com headquarters and studios. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. But a few days since I came to you on YouTube, but we're here now. I've been getting a lot of calls from my contacts, by the way. We appreciate you guys. Most of the college football scores are all in from the conference championship weekend. We've got some of those on the ticker. Also, we're brought to you by Saucer Realty and Capital. Saucer Realty and Capital for your real estate needs in North Florida. We're also brought to you by the MadMaxMix.weebly.com. I was on Mad Max's Wednesday night, Internet Radio Wednesday night music request show just a few days ago, and we'll be on with Max again as time allows, and as as we're able to make that engagement, I guess you'd say, to be on Max's show. And Max has a very, very busy show. Max has a very, very good show. Are we battling the internet again? You may hear us hiccup, all those clicks and pops, and we might fade in and out a little bit. And I think it's maybe an internet issue. But, man, old Wendy says we're running 300 meg internet. So they had a good deal over there at Wendy's. So I went over there and 2 for $3. I mean, this day and age is pretty darn good. I'm not going to tell you which Wendy's I went to, but the ones that serve breakfast, fantastic. So, and want to say hello to T, who was my server over at good old fashioned Wendy's. Wendy's been around since 1969, by the way. But our sponsors, Saucer Realty and Capital, the MadMaxMix.weebly.com. And JC's live from the pub Thursday nights. What a great show. I sometimes what I'll do, I'll throw a request on for JC, a song maybe I don't think he knows. He knows most of them. He knows a lot of music. But what's really cool is I threw a song out there by a group called Nazareth. Nazareth was most famous for a song called Love Hurts. And here, the dog song, Now You're Messing with that one. And they've got another song that came out around 79, 80, 81 called Nazareth had a song called Holiday, which I listened to the song. I haven't heard it in ages, but I did listen to it. And then I got JC to play it on Lakeview All the Hits, LakeviewAllTheHits.com. Great internet radio where it's all good 24/7. But JC's show live from the pub is on Thursday night, 6 o'clock Central Time, 7 o'clock Eastern Time in the Eastern Time hemispheres. And there's many, many states that are listening to LakeviewAllTheHits.com. Great internet radio where it's all good. Also, the Mad Max Mixer show on Wednesday night, MadMaxMix.weebly.com. We got scores on the ticker. SEC championship game. I don't know how Georgia did it, but they did it. Former Florida running back Etienne scored a touchdown, I believe, in this game. Carson Beck, Jacksonville native, got hurt during the game. I think he hurt his right arm, his throwing arm. So I'm sure he'll be assessed. He went back into the game for one play to hand the ball off. When Stockton, the backup quarterback, got hurt, and he played a good game. Did you see the hit Stockton took on the helmet? His helmet came off. They said no targeting on that one. That was hilarious. They would say no targeting, man. That was a brutal hit, and it was helmet to helmet. I saw the replay, saw the game. Georgia wins. I'm a Florida fan, but I'm going to tell you what, I have to be honest. I'm watching this game, Georgia and Texas, and I started rooting for Georgia, and I rooted for Georgia to win that game, even though I actually picked Texas in the pool. Once I started watching the game, I said, man, Georgia's an SEC charter school. They've been in the SEC as long as just about anybody. I mean, going back decades. I'm glad to see Georgia won that game. Texas, they deserve an initiation period. I think the referees, I know the coach at Texas was not happy with some of the refereeing early in the game. I don't think he was right about disagreeing with all the calls, but, it could have been one or two. Where was the SEC game played? Atlanta, Georgia, right? Hot Atlanta. Georgia won the game, but let me tell you, Kirby's a good coach. Georgia's got a good team. What impressed me? Probably the Georgia has some good running backs too, including ETN, who used to be at UF, used to be a Florida Gator. He's got to be the only running back in the history of the SEC that scored touchdowns at both Florida and Georgia. You just never saw players transferring from Florida to Georgia, or maybe even vice versa. Florida did get a defensive player from Georgia. I can't think of his name, but like 3 or 4 years ago. So this is happening more and more, or more than it ever did. It used to never happen. But now in the new era of college football, well, the Syrian government falls to rebel offensive. Yeah, there's things going on in the world, and you know it. College football is going on. SEC championship game, Georgia 22, Texas 19, a final in overtime. Big Ten title game, Oregon, number 1 ranked team in the country, and they're going to be in the playoffs. They're going to get a bye in the first round. Oregon 45, Penn State 37, the final. I'm going to tell you, after watching that game, and I know Ray Kennedy, a guy I went to high school with, said, oh, it's a sloppy game. Well, probably early parts of it was. It got better, I think, as the game went on. Can you believe there was a guy for Texas named Auburn who kicked a tying field goal for Texas against Georgia? The game went to overtime. Auburn, the guy named Auburn, kicking for Texas, hit another one in overtime, but then Georgia come back and got the touchdown. I could only imagine the late Larry Munson saying, there's a guy getting ready to kick a field goal for Texas. Can you believe it? A guy named Auburn is going to kick a field goal against Georgia. I just could think about all those scenarios. I miss guys like the late Larry Munson, who passed away probably 12, 13 years ago or more. I'd like to know where his ashes are. Are they at Sanford Stadium? They could be. Oregon 45, Penn State 37. ACC title game at Clemson. And SMU was actually favored by, a point or two in this game, 2.5 points. I took SMU in the pool to cover. Clemson, now here was the key to this game. Clemson put up 21 points in the absolute first quarter of this game. We're talking college football, the SEC, the other conferences. Playoffs are going to come out. Boise State's going to miss the playoffs because they got beat by – no, I'm sorry. Boise State's going to make the playoffs. They did beat UNLV. My apologies. They're going to be ranked high enough. They're going to be in that top 12 cone, top 12 cylinder to make the playoffs. Plus, they did win their conference championship game. So let me apologize to the Boise State Broncos and their fans. Boise State did win their game on Friday night. That would have been Friday night, December the 6th. Boise State 21, UNLV 7. I was rooting for UNLV because I picked them in the pool. Boise State was only a 4-point favorite, but, man, they must be the real deal. Boise State won the game by 14 points. And there's some play. I think there's a high school player from Jacksonville that's committed to Boise State, too. I can't recall his name, but I'll find out from the one and the only Alex Nunnery, because he's everywhere. Let's face it. Boise State 21, UNLV 7 on Friday night. Another Friday night game that I missed, and I should have gone. My heart said Army was going to win this game, but then I got some help from the source, and they were wrong. They were absolutely wrong. And then at TJ, was it TJ? No, it was Greg from our Facebook page. Greg Tardif. He said, man, I'm glad I got out of Vegas, because he said he would have laid somebody on Tulane. He thought Tulane would win that game by 20 points. You never know about the Army cadets and Navy midshipmen. Those military schools can really surprise you when you least expect it. Army 35, Tulane 14. I think the military schools are a very dangerous team in bowls, too, because I think most all their guys are going to play. They're not They're not holding out to go to the next level. They're going to play. So if you got a military school you're playing against in a bowl game, they're going to be very competitive. Okay, so, and this is a live stream of the Teal Shirt Report podcast, episode show number 67. We got a long way to go to get into the 80s, don't we? This is December 8th. We're going to have to go at this thing almost daily now to get up into the 80s with the episodes for 2024. So Boise State 21, UNLV 7. That was in the, I believe that conference is called the Mountain West. That was the Mountain West Championship. Boise State 21, UNLV 7. That is not an automatic bid to the playoff, but Boise State will be ranked high enough to make the playoff. Army defeated Tulane in the AAC conference. You know, this is a conference I believe that Central Florida used to be in before they got elevated to the Big 12. Army 35, Tulane 14. Boy, the Green Wave got rolled by the Cadets. Now, the Cadets have only one loss. I think what are the Cadets? 11-1, 10-1. They've only lost one game. They lost that game. They got blown out by Notre Dame. Notre Dame also blew out Navy. Notre Dame don't have the toughest schedule, even though they played USC a couple of weeks back. That's a big rivalry, by the way. So my old friend from high school, Ray Kennedy, was talking bad about the SEC championship game. Let's see what happens in the playoff. Notre Dame's ranked high. They're going to be there. They got a good team this year, too, by the way. Nothing against Notre Dame. If you take Notre Dame and you play the schedule that Florida played this year, now what would your record be, Notre Dame, then? You'd probably have 3-4 losses, maybe. You wouldn't be in the playoff. Food for thought. But Notre Dame, they got one loss. They got a good team. They got a good enough team to be in the playoff. And I'll say they had a great season. Did we go over all the conference championship games? Clemson won with a big first quarter, 21 points in the first quarter. Clemson 34, SMU 31 a final. I believe the Clemson field goal kicker kicked one at the end to put Clemson into the victory circle. Oregon 45, Penn State 37. The Oregon Ducks first year in the Big Ten and they'll be in the playoff. They're undefeated. Oregon ranked number 1. They're 13-0. They played a Big Ten schedule, and they might be the odds-on favorite to win the whole thing. But I'm going to tell you, Texas and Georgia were the top 2 teams in the SEC. I'll say that. Florida, though, give Billy Napier credit. He took Georgia to late in the third quarter, early in the fourth quarter at 2020. Keep in mind, DJ Lagway, Florida quarterback DJ Lagway, went out with a hamstring injury late in the second quarter of that Florida-Georgia game, or it could have been a different story. No, Florida didn't need to be in the playoffs this year. This wasn't their year, but now a Florida team that went 7-5 this year, the fan base are going to be expecting 8 or 9 wins in 2025. You win 8 or 9 games, and you're starting to talk about, hey, we could be in the playoff. Is it the playoffs or the play? I think it's still the playoff when it comes to college football. College football is owned and run by the 4-letter network, and I'm not totally on board with them with everything. I'm not a big fan of the NIL. I'm not a fan of the immediate transfer portal. I used to like the old way when a player had to sit out for a year and they couldn't go to the team down the road. They had to go to another conference. College football was kind of protected back then. Now it's no holes barred like the wrestling matches. So that's my opinion. I will try to find us. Let me see. I've been watching YouTube again. Do you guys watch YouTube? Well, we're on YouTube right now, right? This episode show number 67. This is a live stream, by the way, through StreamYard. See if I can find our live stream going on now. And we have been at it for a few minutes here. We appreciate you guys. Oh, here we are. We are on. We're actually on. And this way I'll be able to kind of advertise to things like that. We're on college football. You see, and more sorting it out, plus the Jaguars too. Now, the game the Jags have today against the Titans, This is the type of game the Jags can win, but it doesn't mean a whole lot. But there's jobs on the line. I think the GM should be already gone. I think the coaches should already be gone. And they win 2 or 3 games in a row. Does Mr. Khan change his mind about everything? Who knows? But this was supposed to be the best team the Jaguars had assembled. But they spent a lot of money. So a lot of money gets you what? What are the Jags? 2-10 now? 2-10 with still 5 games. Still 5 games left. Still 5 games left on the schedule. My wife just sent me a nice message. That was very nice of her. Very nice, very nice. I have a wonderful wife in my life now. I've known her for over 5 years. Great lady. Okay, so we'll kind of advertise what we're doing here, and not everybody likes us. I've got my haters, and I say that kind of in a funny way. I know that JC, our executive producer, watches the podcast, and we kind of, we're at the point where, he'll watch it, he'll listen to it, he'll give me some pointers and tips because he is the executive producer, by the way. I'm going to advertise something in the Big J Report chat that we're on. Let me make sure I let these guys know it's a live stream. We're on a live stream this morning. Okay, live stream this morning. Talking college football. Talking college football and more. John Gaylor, good morning and good day to you. We're talking college football. We're going to talk about the Jags. Do I have point spread on the Jags and Titans today? Tennessee's a 3.5 point favorite. The game is in Nashville, Tennessee. I picked the Jags in the football pool. They lose by 3 points. I still win that one. If the Jaguars get blown out by the Titans, that's more embarrassment. The Titans are not very good. They got Will Levis, who puts mayonnaise in his coffee for his creamer, I guess. I think John Gaylor just saw that we're on the live stream this morning. Yeah, that's a great thing. John's a great guy. He and I have different ideas about college football. We both love college football. Now, the thing about college football is, again, I'm not a big fan of the NIL, the immediate transfer portal, or major. I'm not talking about conference realignment. That's okay, but major conference realignment. But I will say this. Now, here's the thing that probably the 4-letter network is banking on. Will these be good games? And the answer to the question is yes, a lot of the games, most of the games, there have been some blowouts, but most of these games have been good games. I mean, look at the SEC championship game. It goes to overtime. Larry Munson would have said a kicker named Auburn tying it up against Georgia, but he was playing for Texas. College football, the SEC and more, sorting it out, plus the Jaguars 2 and more. Here on the Teal Shirt Report podcast, episode show number 67. We will be transferring some I've got some of the championship scores. Georgia beat Texas, great football game. Give me your opinion on the Georgia-Texas SEC championship game. It went overtime. ETN, the former Florida running back, scored a touchdown for Georgia. I think the key to the game, besides the fact Georgia has pretty good running backs, I'm going to tell you, Texas has a good defense. They really do, and they're going to be in the playoffs. They're going to be in the playoffs. So, great football game. Clemson 34, SMU 31 was the final score of the ACC championship game. A lot of points in the Big Ten title game. Oregon new to the Big Ten this year. And the Oregon Ducks won the entire Big Ten. Oregon 45, Penn State 37, the final score. So we appreciate you guys tuning into the Teal Shirt Report podcast. Give us a like. Please give us a thumbs up today. I'm in the mood for some thumbs ups. And subscribe to the channel. We got a few people subscribing we're sitting at the very bottom rung of YouTube. Although we've been doing the podcast for 5 years, when you talk about the audio platforms, going back even before COVID, back in mid-January of 2020, probably a couple of months before what was described as COVID took place and kind of rocked the world, the country, and a lot of people. SEC championship game, Georgia 22, Texas 19, final and overtime. That's on our ticker, on our YouTube channel. Big Ten title game, Oregon 45, Penn State 37, a final. ACC title, Clemson 34, SMU 31, a final on Saturday, December the 7th. So the way these playoffs work is the Big Five power conferences. Are there five, or is it four? The Pac-12 is like the Pac-2, but they're going to add more basically mid-major teams for next year, I believe. So how many conferences? I guess it's just the four, right? We've got the SEC. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it the Power Five or the top four conferences that get the automatic bids to the conference championship games? Georgia's in. Texas, the team that lost the SEC championship game, they're going to be in with their record, obviously. Tennessee's going to be in. And then I hear rumors Alabama's getting in. They're getting in at 9-3. Executive producer JC, your Alabama Crimson Tide, and he told me a few days back, in. He's a big Alabama fan, and they're the Alabama fan base. They expect almost perfection because they've had such a strong college football program for years. But when you think about the SEC, there's four teams that are 9-3. You got Alabama. Missouri's kind of a shaky 9-3, but they're 9-3 nevertheless. Who else is 9-3 in the SEC? South Carolina. South Carolina has won 6 games in a row, I believe. So you got Alabama, Missouri, South Carolina, and Ole Miss. Oh yes, Coach Lane Kiffin, and Ole Miss is 9-3. Do any of those teams get in, or is it just Alabama? It may just be Alabama, or it might not be Alabama. We'll see how it plays out. Right now, I think we know this for a fact that Georgia, Texas, and Tennessee will all be in the 12-team playoff. They've all won 10 games or more. And Georgia has won the SEC with a nice 22, right? Again, the Georgia Bulldogs 22, Texas 19, a final score in overtime. Other games, the Friday games, Mountain West Conference, Boise State 21, UNLV 7. As Boise State beat the Ryan Rebels 21-7 back on Friday night, December the 6th. Army won a conference. They won the entire AAC conference, but they're not going to go to the playoffs, but they're like 11-1, and they still have the Army-Navy game to be played. And I think Army will be invited to a bowl game after that, a pretty good bowl game, too, with their record. Army's only blemish was a blowout loss to Notre Dame. If they had beaten Notre Dame, they would have been ranked higher, and maybe, just maybe, they would have been close to a playoff spot if they were undefeated. Army 35, Tulane 14 on Friday night, December the 6th of 2024. Let's see. The Big 12 title game was pretty good early, and then all of a sudden, Arizona State just blew out Iowa State. I did pick Arizona State they were favored by 2 points, and they went way over the spread. Arizona State 45, Iowa State 19, the final score. The MAC Conference Final. This surprised me. I expected a much closer game. The Ohio Bobcats, they won't go to the playoffs, but they'll be in a good bowl game. Ohio Bobcats 38, Miami of Ohio. They used to be called the Redskins. I think they're the Red Hawks now. So Ohio University, Ohio 38, Miami of Ohio 3, the final. Again, the most important one of them all from my favorite conference and yours, most of you, everybody loves the SEC. Georgia won the SEC championship game. Georgia 22, Texas 19, a final score in overtime. Florida just over a week ago beat Florida State 31-11 in the annual Florida State game. Florida will be going to a bowl. Florida State is their season what? 2-10. Same record as the Jacksonville Jaguars. So let's see. Did we get our advertisement up? I thought we had. I thought we actually had. Let me see. We got them up in some areas. Okay, there we go. Coffee mug in the background from the bigjreport.com world headquarters studio. Talking college football. Jaguars will play today at 1 o'clock. I like the Jaguars today. Do they win the game? I don't know. Tennessee's a 3.5-point favorite. If Tennessee wins by 3, Jaguars still win it for me in the pool. I missed the Detroit game. That was Thursday night. The Lions won by 3 points, but they were favored by 3.5. Can you believe the Detroit Lions are 12-1? Other games today: the Atlanta Falcons at the Minnesota Vikings, 1 o'clock kickoff. New Orleans Saints at the New York Giants. That's a 1 o'clock kickoff. Seemed like the Saints just played the Giants. No, they're playing this Sunday. That is today, Sunday, December the 8th. Hmm. Yeah, Wendy's has coffee too. And that breakfast, my gosh, that breakfast, I couldn't believe it. If that's you, John Gaylor, I couldn't believe it. Wendy's had that 2 for $3 on, I got an egg and cheese and a sausage biscuit. I think they threw the coffee in because I was being me. Okay, New Orleans Saints at the New York Giants. Sunday kickoff at 1 o'clock. Jaguars at the Titans today at 1 o'clock on Sunday, December the 8th. And hey, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed. And Minnesota's a 4.5-point favorite over Atlanta. I don't think the Falcons have a lot to play for. The Vikings do. I think the Vikings will cover, but I've been wrong before. But the Vikings are at home. The New Orleans Saints are a 4.5-point favorite. They're going to New York, and maybe the Giants will show some, maybe they'll, garner up some from within. They'll kind of pull some pride out today and, at least get under the 4.5 points. We'll take the New York Giants. I think Drew Lock is playing quarterback for them now since Daniel Jones was released here a few weeks ago. Jacksonville Jaguars, a 3.5-point underdog in Nashville against the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans have been the Jaguars' nemesis for years, seems like decades now, or at least 3 decades. And the very first game the Jaguars ever played was against the Houston Oilers, who later became the Tennessee Oilers and then became the Tennessee Titans as they are now. No more Derrick Henry, though. Derrick Henry's with the Baltimore Ravens. I'm going to take the Jaguars to get under the 3.5 points. Jets and Dolphins. Miami's a 6.5-point favorite. I think it could be closer than that. So I'll take the Jets to get under the 6.5 points. Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Raiders. Man, Tampa Bay is the hardest team to pick or figure ever. I'm going to take Tampa Bay to cover the 7 points over the Raiders at home. This game should mean more to Tampa, I think, than the Raiders. Carolina Panthers. Let's see, Carolina Panthers at the Philadelphia Eagles. I got Jalen Hurts in the Yahoo Fantasy League. By the way, I'm going to check my lineups here in a few minutes, but Jalen Hurts has been coming on playing really, really well. Philadelphia is a 12.5-point favorite. You think Philadelphia would just destroy Carolina, but who knows in today's NFL. The Eagles a 12.5-point favorite when the poll was done on Wednesday or Thursday. Cleveland at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's a 6.5-point favorite, but something happens when the Browns play this team. The Browns are not very good. picking the Browns to get underneath the 6.5 points. Maybe the Steelers had a little bit of a down week. They had a good season overall, though. Arizona Cardinals host Seattle. These are two good defenses, and seems like they just played a couple of weeks ago. This time in Arizona, I'll take Arizona to cover the 2.5 points and play a good game at home in Seattle. Both of these defenses are actually pretty good right now. Chicago Bears are the 49ers. 49ers are 3.5 point favorite. Purdy is back. I don't think he played that well last week, but look for him to do better in this one. 49ers should cover and win this game by maybe 6 points over the Bears. We'll take the 49ers. Rams and Bills. Bills are hot, and they're very cold. They played well in the snow in their last game when they destroyed 49ers. What was it, Sunday Night Football? I think the Bills are, you know how when you're playing football, you look really good one week, and then you kind of have a letdown the next week. I think the Bills have a letdown against the Rams. I think the Bills still win this game by maybe a point or two. But Buffalo's a 4.5 point favorite in Los Angeles. I'm going to take the Rams to maybe lose by 3, and the Bills not covering the 4.5 points. But I'm picking all the games here. That would not be a game. If I was putting money on it, I wouldn't pick that one. But it's part of the pool, in other words. LA Chargers, Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City's still playing good football, but they're not covering. They get a big point. They're not covering it here in the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I think that trend may continue. Coach Jim Harbaugh and the LA Chargers to Kansas City, but I'm going to tell you that's a rough place to play. Kansas City, when that crowd gets going, it looks like the stadium is moving. The Kansas City Chiefs are 3.5 point favorite. Kansas City may kick a field goal and win it at the end, but so I'm gonna take a chance. Pick the LA Chargers. I'm really taking a chance on any of these games actually, but I'm gonna take the LA Chargers to get underneath the 3.5 points on the road at Kansas City. Cincinnati Bengals at Dallas Cowboys. One thing about the Cowboys, what's the backup quarterback's name? Rush. And I had picked up what's the guy's name? The tight end with Dallas Schoonmaker. He had a good week for me, I think, on Thanksgiving. But now I've dropped him and picked up Evan Ingram with the Jaguars in the Yahoo League. But I'm not going to make the playoffs in the Yahoo League, so we're just trying to win the game. We're trying to win the game. Remember like the old Jets coach used to say? Herm Edwards? Gosh, Herm Edwards picked up a fumble when he was playing. Who was he playing for? The Eagles. He scooped up Subsrcribe's fumble and ran in for a touchdown. The Eagles just didn't run the clock out. The history of the NFL, it's crazy. Dallas Cowboys are playing good. Cincinnati's a 5.5 point favorite in Dallas. I like Dallas in this one. Cincinnati could win by a field goal or 4 points, but then I'm golden if I got Dallas. I think Dallas plays good at home. Their quarterback the backup quarterback. Dak is out, but the backup quarterback Rush is starting to play pretty good football. I'll take Dallas, get inside and under the 5.5 points on the spread. Bengals in the football pool is not like Dallas. He called them the Cowgirls. But I'm going to pick Dallas, and total points, I'm going with 47 points. That Dallas-Cincinnati game is a Monday night game, 8:15 kickoff. So let's look at some of the NFL games today. We did this thing called college football. We've got the ticker. On the ticker, Georgia 22, Texas 19, a final in overtime. That was the SEC championship game. Big Ten title game. Went to Oregon. The Oregon Ducks 45. Penn State and Nittany Lions 37, a final. ACC title game. Clemson 34, SMU 31, a final on Saturday, December the 7th. If you missed the smaller conference title games, but Boise State's in a smaller conference, but they're going to be in the playoff because they're ranked high enough. Boise State 21, UNLV 7. Boise State is not in a power conference. They're in the Mountain West, but they're going to be ranked high enough to make the playoff. They'll be one of the top 12 teams. And they had an impressive Mountain West Championship conference title game victory. Boise State 21, UNLV 7 on Friday night. It was on Friday night, December the 7th. Army beat Tulane, Army 35, Tulane 14. On Friday night, December the 6th as well. Army 35, Tulane 14. That was the AAC Conference Championship game. The only real power conference championship game that I did not put on the ticker was the Big 12 one, Arizona State 45, Iowa State 19. The Arizona State Sun Devils will be in the playoff, but they'll, most likely be the only Big 12 team that represents the Big 12 in the 12-team playoff. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. We got high school football scores up on the website now at bigjreport.com, bigjreport.com. Icemen won Friday night. They lost Saturday. So they beat the Everblades on Friday night, lost to them on Saturday. But overall, the Icemen having a good year. Stuff on Twitter. By the way, high school football playoff scores are up on our site now at bigjreport.com. If you missed any of the Friday night scores up on our site on the homepage now, we've got at least the last 2 weeks of playoff scores and more that are up there on the website on the homepage. Check us out at bigjreport.com. Latest game from the Jacksonville Icemen. This is part of North Florida Entertainment. Jacksonville Icemen, tough loss. The Icemen lost 4-1 against the Florida Everblades on Saturday night, December the 7th of 2024. The Jacksonville Icemen now 11 wins, 7 losses, and 2 overtime losses. So the Jacksonville Icemen are now 11, 7-2, still having a pretty good season, having a good season of the 2024 East Coast Hockey League season. So the Icemen playing well. They lost Saturday night 4-1 against the Everblades. The Icemen, and you can check us out. We've got a lot of this stuff we refer to is actually on our Twitter account or our X account. You can you certainly can follow us at Scott Mullis at Big J Report Scott on Twitter, which is now known as the X. The Icemen did win on Friday night. And that was some good news. I think I've got that up here too on the Twitter of the X account. East Coast Hockey League, ECHL, East Coast Hockey League hockey. Jacksonville Icemen 4, the Florida Everblades 2. A final on Friday night, which would have been December the 6th. Go Icemen. Jacksonville Icemen were 11-6-2 after that game. Now, after the loss Saturday night, the Icemen have fallen to 11-7-2 on the 2024 East Coast Hockey League season. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. Give me a comment. What did you think about the SEC championship game, and who should get in the playoff? We know that Georgia and Texas have got to be figured as the top 2 teams in the SEC. It was a good game. As our Notre Dame friend Ray Kennedy said, it was a little sloppy early. It was kind of raking on the SEC piece of Notre Dame. It turned out to be a good football game. Went overtime. A kicker named Auburn tied up Georgia. How about that? The game went to overtime. If you've got an SEC championship game or any conference championship game that goes to overtime, you know the game is a hit, a success, and everybody's till the end and even beyond the end. It went overtime. As you could tell on the ticker, the SEC championship game went to Texas. Went to Georgia, but Texas tied them and took it into overtime with a kicker named Auburn kicking against Georgia. Georgia 22, Texas 19, the final in overtime. Again, let me reiterate, I don't want anybody to have an attack this morning. Georgia did win the game. The Georgia Bulldogs, it's on the ticker. Georgia Bulldogs 22, Texas Longhorns 19, the final score. We gave you all the NFL games. Trevor Lawrence is basically done for the season. He had that left shoulder injury, and then all of a sudden he took a big hit from Alshire. I think his name's pronounced Alshire. I don't know how I got Alshire, but I'm close. Alshire had a helmet-to-helmet on Trevor. and he took the old forearm right across. And I saw the replay. He kept taking the four. He took on every replay the forearm, and then I saw a really good replay from a different angle. And yeah, he's throwing the forearm at the end on one quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, knocked him out to the concussion protocol. Trevor's going to have surgery on the shoulder. I understand it too at some point. So he's done. Trevor's done the rest of the season. Now there's jobs on the line with the current Jaguars players. I would say that Mac Jones's career as a quarterback is going to really take shape over the next 4 or 5 weeks because he's going to play. I picked up Evan Ingram in the Yahoo League. I hope Evan gets some catches. He's going to be kind of a safety valve for Mac Jones. But let's talk about Evan Ingram, a guy like Brenton Strange. There was another player that came to Trevor's aid. Evan Ingram's going to get about a $10,000 to $12,000 fine for coming to Trevor's aid and throwing a haymaker on Al Shire, and he flatly deserved it. He's had a history of these bad hits. My goodness, it doesn't get any worse. It doesn't get much worse than 2-10. All money spent by General Manager Trent Baalke, all that money spent, and what'd you get out of it? 2-10 for the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's been a season. The 2024 season for the Jaguars has been a major catastrophe, an atrocity. The only thing that came out of the season was, well, I'll say there's a couple of things. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Ventrell Miller, who was a rookie last year, who got hurt in the preseason. Ventrell Miller has showed us he can play linebacker in the National Football League, and I like him. I like him. He was really one of the only good notes to a Florida Gator defense a couple of years back. The Florida Gator defense has come on, and they beat Florida State 31-11 well over a week ago. Florida Gators going to be bowling with Coach Billy Napier. Let me tell you what's helping Coach Billy Napier. Quarterback DJ Lagway. I saw a play where a Florida State Seminole had him in the grasp and just about had him down. And you saw the strength of Lagway to get away from him and run to the right and still throw a complete pass. Lagway might be the Gator quarterback for the next couple of years. He's a true freshman. I see him hanging around at least another 2 years after this one. And he's potentially a guy that can run and pass. He's strong in the pocket, and he throws a really good 12 to 20-yard pass. He's got some good wrist action. Looks like strong wrist action, almost like Hank Aaron when he was hitting home runs. How about that? Is that pressure or what? So good luck to the Jags. I'm going to be pulling for them. I've never pulled against the Jags, no matter what the record or whoever they're playing or whatever the situation is. So go Jags. Duval. We're gonna call this one. I'm gonna write it down. Episode show number 67. John Gaylor. We're not gonna hang around 67 too long, but I know there's a lot of 68s. We'll talk about. It's been a lot of guards that play the left guard for the Jaguars over the years, or even right guard that wear number 68. So we gave you college football. Should have hit the concerts. I guess we should hit the concerts. Icemen won on Friday, lost on Saturday. We hit some of these concerts real quick because we don't have a lot of concerts up. Check us out at bigjreport.com. This is a live stream, but you can watch it all day or anytime. Let's now pull up the concerts. JC, I was watching a video of the Cars and Shooby-Doo. To do that's a good the Cars. That's not a song widely known, JC. I did post something on the Twitter account, the Facebook page about Shooby-Doo, and then they played another song after that. The Cars, late 70s, early 80s music. We'll check. We don't have a lot of concerts updated, but Chicago is coming, and that's huge. They've been around for years. They're still playing shows. Let's take a look when the Chicago concert is coming. The Foreigner Show. There'll be a Foreigner Show at the St. Augustine Amphitheater on March 16th at 7:00 p.m. Reportedly, tickets for Foreigners selling very, very well for this one. I wouldn't be surprised if that one was already sold out. JC, you might want to know the country legend, the group Alabama, was in concert on Saturday night, November the 9th of 2024, last month, at the St. Augustine, Florida Amphitheater. Also, Foreigner comes to the St. Augustine Amphitheater on Sunday, March 16th of 2025 at 7:00 p.m. Again, reportedly, tickets for Foreigner selling very well for this one, with Foreigner in North Florida at the St. Augustine Amphitheater. And another show in North Florida, the group Chicago will play at the St. Augustine, Florida Amphitheater on Sunday, April 30th of 2025 at 7:30 p.m. We will update the Neighbors 2 section on bigjreport.com and add some more concerts coming up over the next few days, by the way. We appreciate you listening. Absolutely. And listening to the Teal Shirt Report podcast, episode show number 67. We got a lot of episodes to do to get up into the 80s before the end of the year, right? On the ticker, you see 3 of the main conference championship games. The Big 12 game will add that one because it's not on the ticker. Big 12 championship game. It was all Arizona State. Arizona State won on Saturday, December the 7th. Arizona State 45, Iowa State 19 in the Big 12 championship game. Sometimes those West Coast teams have a little more speed than the Middle America Orange Shuckers. Nothing against them. Those are some big old boys that play offensive line for the those Shucker type teams, the Cornhuskers, the Iowa clubs. Iowa and Iowa State have always been known for having those big guards and big offensive line guys. The Jaguars need a guard in the NFL draft in late April of 2025. They need a guard, and they need a left tackle. They need a defensive back. Can you believe we're talking about the NFL April 2025 Jacksonville Jaguars draft? Who the Jaguars should draft? Well, we are, but that's what 2-10 gets you. You can talk about the game coming up, and it's the Tennessee Titans today in Nashville. But we're talking about a football team that's absolutely terrible this year. 2-10. As I take another sip of the coffee. Not the Kool-Aid, but the coffee. The coffee's really good. I appreciate you guys tuning in. We have been admirably produced by our executive producer, JC. Also by Alex Nunnery. I got some stuff to talk to Alex Nunnery about, by the way. And also, John Gaylor, thank you for being our correspondent, our contributor to the Teal Shirt Report podcast and bigjreport.com in general. We got the high school football scores, by the way, up on the website from week 4 of the playoffs, week 3 of the playoffs, and you can go back and see how your team did because a lot of teams have been knocked out. Playoffs, high school football playoffs are up on our website on the homepage at bigjreport.com. We've got weather up there for North Florida 24/7 on the homepage as well. Want to thank our sponsors, Saucer Realty and Capital, for your real estate needs in North Florida. Also by the Mad Max Mix.weebly.com. I was a guest on Max's show last Wednesday. And also want to thank JC for playing a request by the group Nazareth for me called Holiday. And JC, by asking for a request, in most cases, he'll get it up on his show live in the pub on Thursday nights with JC live from the pub on LakeUfallahits.com. Great internet radio where it's all good. I'm your host, Scott. This has been a live stream. You can watch it again. We talk college football, the NFL, the Jaguars, North Florida entertainment, and more. Thank you for tuning in. We've been going at this thing for about 49 minutes. So thank you for joining us on this Sunday, December the 8th of 2024. You guys have a great day, okay? Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to the Teal Shirt Report podcast. Thank you.